If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Just let me explain. First, it's free. Second, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Plus, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more places. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. All you have to do to get started is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Chapter 1. General Houston paced the fringe of the conference room and huffed. He traversed the length of the room, hands clasped behind his back, and growled as he about-faced and returned again. Each grumble and huff was directed at two men who sat on the other side of the table. "Sack worthless pieces of dehydrated monkey dung," he sputtered as he walked. "I want to kill you. Dead. But I can't." "You can't? Why not?" "Don't encourage him," Dawes snapped. "I ain't encouraging him. I'm satisfying a curiosity." "Gentlemen," Houston grunted. "We have a problem." "Besides us?" "Worse than you." He slammed two meaty fists into the smooth surface of the tabletop and tried to burn holes through their skulls with his eyes. Carver leaned further back in his seat and shot a weary grin to Dawes. "You know, man, that makes me feel a little better." "Second to last is not the worst," Dawes drawled. He was long and lean, whipped muscles corded his arms and neck, and carried the lankiness often associated with cowboys and men who had spent time on the range. Carver was just under his height and slightly heavier than his weight, but lean too, a lifelong athlete whose mouth was faster than his feet. They were still dressed in tattered flight suits, ripped and dirty from a crash the general had whisked them away from just hours before. "Hey man, can I get a drink of water or something around here? Or a beer?" "Yeah, a beer sounds nice. We did just stop an alien invasion." "That's right." Carver held up his fist for a fist bump. "I don't do that." "What? This? Come on man, everybody does this. Just put your hand up." "I'll high five, but I don't blow it up." "It's the same thing," Carver sighed, fist still in the air as he waited. "Gentlemen," Houston interrupted. "Hang on a second," said Carver. "You're telling me you'll slap my hand if I open it up, but you won't bump knuckles?" Dawes shrugged. "I just think it's stupid." "You're stupid," Carver mumbled. He opened up his long fingers and showed Dawes his palm. The cowboy leaned up and slapped it with a loud clap that reverberated in the small room. "Better?" Carver shook his hand and hid a wince. "Yeah, better." "Are you done?" Houston snapped. "We waiting on you." Carver tried a grin to see if it would work on the general. It didn't. "You going to talk to us?" the young black man continued. "You said problem," Dawes reminded him, trying to be helpful. "And where is Rachel?" Carver glanced around the room. "She's following orders," Houston snapped. "Which is what I'm doing." "Or what?" "Or what?" Dawes asked Carver. "Man, I heard that kind of tone from my mama a lot. There was always an or else or an or what after it. Like someone was making her do something she didn't want to do, and if I didn't go along, she would whip my bottom." Dawes nodded and turned to Houston. "Or what?" The general's eyes flashed. Two bright red spots bloomed on his cheeks as he visibly shook to bring himself back under control. "Did you see that? That can't be good for him." "Ain't good for us either," Carver whispered. "If he strokes out, I bet they blame us or something." "I want your eyes up front and your mouth zipped." Houston raged, spittle showering the tabletop. Carver and Dawes sat up straighter in their chairs and wisely kept their mouths shut, though Dawes had a droplet of moisture on the table with a disgusted look on his face. Houston made a motion with his hand and a hologram appeared on the floor in front of him. "Cool," said Dawes. 30 seconds, Houston muttered. "Not even 30 seconds. It's like that Princess Leia thing in Star Wars." Carver studied it. "What is it?" "It's a bull." "I know it's a bull, but it don't look like a real bull. This a video game bull or something?" "It's an alien bull." "What happened to the lizard men?" "The licks are still out there, we think. But as we are learning fast, we are not alone." "No, you're not," said Dawes. "You've got us in here." "I think he means in space." "Oh. You mean in space, right, General?" "Yes," he answered in a clipped voice. "Kiss ass," Dawes made a smooching sound. I ain't kissing ass, I'm clarifying. Smooch like a duck, I think duck. I ain't smooching, I ain't kissing, I ain't sucking up to nothing. Whatever you have to tell yourself to get to sleep at night, Dawes said sagely. Whatever, man. You don't know nothing. Space Bull, he turned back to the general who watched the exchange, color on his face shifting from red to purple to white and back again as he fought an army of emotions. After a moment, he let out a long low breath and continued. That is their supreme leader. Houston shifted the hologram around as he moved. It's like one of those paintings, Carver said with wonder in his voice. The eyes follow you as you move. It's a hologram, not a painting, Dawes explained. I know that, Carver snapped. It's a holograph, right? Yes, Houston groused. We intercepted this transmission. To who? To whom? Man, this ain't English class, Carver rounded on Dawes. Good thing or you'd get an F. I'd do better than what you could do. Redneck. Cowboy. Gentleman. The two men snapped their eyes on the general and shut up. How does he do that? Man, one day you're gonna have to teach me that trick. This is their leader, Houston ignored him. He looks like a weird cow, said Dawes. Looks are deceiving. He's 9 feet tall and weighs a ton. No, man, he's got horns, hooves. It's a bull. It's an alien species, Houston seethed. An alien warrior bent on world domination. It said that? Asked Carver. Just shooting the bull? Dawes snickered. Shut up. Houston exploded. You too. He waved his finger between them, fist clenching and unclenching beneath it. This is important. So? So was the last one, said Carver. And you ain't even said thank you for saving our ass for that. No medal. No money. Not even lunch. And I'm hungry. You hungry? I could eat, said Dawes. See, no appreciation. No respect. You want respect? We'd settle for some common courtesy. You haven't even said please. You want courtesy? I think we earned it. Follow me. Chapter 2. Houston led them through a whooshing door and didn't wait to see if they followed. He marched through the door and down the corridor. The walls this low were smooth bore rock with metal struts spaced every 5 yards. Carver and Dawes struggled to catch up to the general and fell in step behind him. We in the same place we were last time? Carver pestered the back of the general's thick neck. Hey! Hey! I'm talking to you, man. The general froze in his tracks. Carver and Dawes stumbled across each other in an effort not to plow into the back of him. They watched a crimson blush creep out of his collar and slowly spread up the skin on his neck. It reached his ears until the tips glowed like 2 Christmas bulbs. He turned around, iron-gray mustache bristling. Sir, he seethed. You don't have to call me sir, Carver cracked an easy smile. And he ain't no sir either. He jabbed a thumb at Dawes. We ain't soldiers. Houston slapped a meaty hand into the closest metal strut. The rock wall shimmered and dissolved in a cascade of rainbow colors that faded to reveal clear glass. Below and beyond, the two men could see hundreds of fatigue-clad bodies training in the vast subterranean cavern. They shot lasers on a firing range. They ran laps around the perimeter. Some practiced hand-to-hand combat, while others tackled an obstacle course. There was even a mechanical bull with a short line waiting to take a turn at a ride. You're in the army now, Houston growled. Drafted, Dawes held up both hands and backpedaled. Look man, said Carver. We didn't volunteer to get shot up into outer space. We didn't step up to fight those 8-foot lizard men. And we didn't sign up for this. Too bad. Too bad? Did I stutter? You boys have 2 choices. My way, he ticked off on one finger. A couple of massive jumpsuit-clad soldiers stepped around the corner behind them. They were dressed in black fatigues, black boots, and black wraparound sunglasses with mirror lenses that lent them an alien appearance. They also had guns. Giant blaster rifles that looked all the more menacing in that both barrels were pointed at Dawes and Carver. Or the we kill you way. Carver shot a look at Dawes, then back at the giant black barrels of the rifles. He turned on a 1,000-watt smile for Houston. Why didn't you say so, sir? Your way sounds good. Don't it, Dawes? Way better than the alternative, Dawes gulped. I'm not so fond of the we kill you way. Houston snorted and turned back to his march. Fall in, he ordered the 2 soldiers behind them. Try to keep up. Chapter 3. That is a lot of soldiers, Dawes whistled through his teeth. Are those lasers? Super secret space soldiers, Carver stared through the window beside him. The men below them in the hold continued to train oblivious to their new admirers. Dawes zeroed in on one soldier in particular, a curvy feminine shape in a form-fitting suit. He nudged Carver's elbow and pointed. What? Look. Carver strained to see what he was talking about. What am I looking at? Space Army? I see them. There they are, man, all of them down there. The one training them, there, he pointed again. You keep pointing like that's going to make a difference or something. I'm looking but I ain't seeing what you're talking about. There. There where? I said I see a bunch of people fighting. With the gun. They all got guns. Blasters, Houston corrected. The girl. I don't see no girl. Rachel. Carver pressed his face closer to the glass. Where? There. Man, he glared at Dawes. I'm telling you, I see a bunch of things. You just pointing in a general direction ain't helping me. Dawes sighed. Do you need glasses? I don't need no glasses. I need you to tell me where you're looking. There are thousands of guys down there and I don't know which one you're talking about. See the wall? The back wall? The side wall. See, I wasn't even looking that way. I was pointing at the side wall. I didn't know what you were pointing at. Rachel. I'm pointing at Rachel. Carver's eyes finally landed on her and an easy grin broke out on his cheeks. Oh yeah, there she is. Why didn't you say so? He turned to Houston. All right, General, you getting the band back together? We going down there to get her now. She's training, one of the silver-eyed men said. Training? She don't need no training. She should be training them. She is. Oh. Is she going to train us? Dawes glanced over his shoulder as she flipped a super-secret space soldier over her shoulder, ripped the rifle from his hands and aimed it at his head. She needs to train you. The general spun on his heel and kept walking down the corridor. Duke and Nuke herded the two men after him. But we don't have time, Houston continued. You three are the only ones who have encountered alien life forms before. You fought them, and God knows how, you beat them. It was luck, Carver started to say, and Dawes nudged him off balance. He almost bounced off the clear glass wall and shrieked a little as he fidgeted for balance. Don't push me, man. Quiet, A, on the luck, A. What's that? Pig Latin. Your Pig Latin sucks. Did you understand me? Yeah. So did we, said Nuke. I don't care if it was luck or skill, Houston ignored their bickering. He stopped in front of a hangar door and pressed his hand against a reader. Red light glowed around his fingertips and the massive steel door rolled back on a rail to reveal the interior of the cavernous hangar. Damn, said Dawes. Carver was struck speechless. He stood there with mouth slightly open as he admired the contents of the room. Your advisors on this mission, Houston stood ramrod straight in front of them. His eyes burned with anger that bordered on hatred. I don't want you involved, but I'm following orders. You will do the same. His eyes moved from Dawes to Carver and back again. The men didn't shrink under his glare, but they both bounced back and forth from foot to foot in an uncomfortable silence. These men are in charge of you, he indicated over their shoulder. They give an order, you follow the order. They ask a question, you answer the question. Are we clear? Yeah, the men said together. Say it. Say what? Asked Carver. Say we are clear. The men exchanged a look. Dawes heard a rustle behind him and looked over his shoulder as Duke, the larger of the two men, put his hand on the otherworldly pistol at his belt. He imagined what kind of eyes he had behind the mirror lenses and felt the pressure of their gaze burning into him. Clear, he spilled. We are clear. Carver stared at him, and saw what he was looking at. He started nodded. Clear. Sir, he added. There was a lot of tension between the three men around them, filling the space like something alive, and they all were armed. He had been in a lot of situations growing up, where teenage boys with big guns and little PPs had not liked his smart mouth, look or general attitude about life. He learned that sometimes the stuff that made it past his filter could get him out of trouble, and using the word sir popped into his head at the last second. It seemed to work. The general relaxed at least. Or that was a generous description. Instead, it looked like Houston let a breath out, one he had been holding since the two men crash-landed into Central Park in a secret space shuttle. He almost asked what the news had to say about that, but some survival mechanism kicked in before the words came out of his mouth and he clamped his lips shut. No use burning whatever goodwill he had built with the general in the last 1 second. Better to save the questions for later. Just not for Houston. Duke and Nuke shoved them through the hangar door. The general placed his palm against the reader and they watched the steel trundle close with a slow swish. Dawes raised his hand halfway and waved. The general lifted one eyebrow and snorted like an angry bull. Then the door was shut and they were left in the room with two silver-eyed men who wanted to kill them. Chapter 4. Move. Carver planted his feet and wouldn't budge. I ain't moving nowhere. Not till somebody tells me something. Duke put a hand on the silver pistol strapped to his hip. Nuke reached out and waved him back. Hang on, Duke, let's just give him a minute to adjust. We don't have a minute, the space soldier blinked at the watch strapped to his wrist. 60 seconds, Nuke told Carver. Go. Carver didn't move. I think they're serious, Dawes whispered out of the side of his mouth as he studied the expressionless faces of the two men standing in front of him. I'm serious too, man. This is a bunch of bullshit. We just got back from outer space and y'all want to send us back up there. Dawes locked his arms across his chest and stood shoulder to shoulder with Carver. He's got a good point. Duke's hand moved from the butt of his pistol to a long slim tube clipped to his belt. He wrapped his fingers around it, flicked a switch. A thin red plasma blade flared to life. So does he. Carver flinched but held fast. I ain't going back up in a spaceship. You'll do what I say. Just do it, dude. He's going to hurt you. I ain't scared of him, man. The hot flame licked closer to his skin. All right, maybe I'm a little scared, but I ain't backing down. Just come on, Carver. No, man. This is about the principle of the matter. What principle? Duke glared. Or at least they thought he did. It was hard to tell with the glasses. Can you tell what he's looking at? Dawes whispered. No, man, I can't tell nothing. Besides, who wears sunglasses when we're underground? I know, right? We can hear you. It's not like we're trying to keep a secret, Carver shouted. Damn, man, you're standing right there in front of us. With a glowy little lightsaber thing and everything. More like a Bowie knife. I said that. No, you said lightsaber, but those are long and thin and make-believe. This is more like a small Bowie knife. Will it cut you? Burn you, answered Nuke. So, it's a knife, Carver spat. Cut, burn. I mean hell, we should call it a plasma torch. Nuke grinned. That's what we call it. See. Carver smiled in triumph. Why are you smiling? Dawes asked. You didn't win anything. Bowie knife. I knew what it was. I knew what it was called. See, man, I know things. Do you know when we're going to move? 'Cause we're on a timetable here, Duke growled. In a minute, said Carver. Let's get something straight first. The silver eyes reflected the red glow of the plasma torch as the two super soldiers watched him. No medal, Carver listed. No thank you, no appreciation. Now, y'all want us to go back somewhere with you. What are we going to get? Not shot. There is that, said Dawes. I'm a fan of not being shot. Nah, man, if they was going to shoot us they would have done it already. They're just postulating. Posturing? That's what I said. What do you want? Nuke sighed and glanced at his watch. Carver shot a look at Dawes. I ain't going nowhere unless I get paid. Paid? Yes, paid. You're a soldier, right? Something like that. Super secret space soldier, covert military type, whatever. Would we call him cowvert since he's fighting space cows? Shut up, man, I'm trying to say something important here, he turned back to Duke. The solder's hand still flexed over the butt of his pistol, but he didn't grab it yet as he considered what Carver was saying. My point is you work for somebody, right? Duke nodded. And if you work for somebody, then you're getting paid. Nuke let a small grin quirk up the corner of his mouth. Duke caught it and grunted. He's right. Yeah. Every 2 weeks, and holiday pay. No overtime though. See, man, that's what I'm saying. You get paid, he gets paid, all them get paid. But I don't. He don't. And we the only ones who've been fighting aliens up in here. Her too, Dawes pointed through the glass as Rachel tossed one of the super secret soldiers into a wall. Yeah, but she's teaching them. I bet she's on payroll now. How about it? Dawes asked. Is she on payroll? Duke shrugged, but his heart wasn't in it. All right. All right? That's what I said, isn't it? Spell it out for us. We getting paid? Carver asked. I'll put in the paperwork. When? We'll fill out the paperwork when we get back. No man, that ain't going to work, see. Y'all going to get us up there and get us killed. Then it won't matter if we get paid. You want to let me handle this? You think you can do better? At least as well, Dawes said. Man, we've been here, what? A couple of hours and I already got us on the payroll. You think you can beat that? Dawes considered it, for a moment, a thoughtful look on his face. Come on, man, you got to admit, that's pretty good. Yeah, Dawes conceded. That is good. All right then, I'm the businessman, so let me handle my businessman. He turned back to Duke and Nuke as they stood in front of another door. About those forms, y'all got direct deposit? Yeah, Duke said with a wolfish grin. They're in here. He slapped a button and let the door behind him trundle open. The room beyond was bathed in darkness, tiny pools of light leaking in through portholes in the ceiling. The weak starlight glow bounced off gleaming black metal. That looks like something the X-Men would drive. Fly, drive whatever, man, they know what I mean. It ain't like I got to explain every little thing to them. They ain't dumb like you. You like? Nuke grinned, brilliant white teeth flashing in the blinking lights on the smooth underbelly of the shuttle. The guy who designed it for us went to work in Hollywood. He made that CGI plane in the movie. Skipped all this glory and sold out for the big bucks. Aren't you guys off the books, Black Ops, or something like that? Duke spit out of the side of his mouth and adjusted his toothpick from one corner to the other. Something like that. So Hollywood pays better than this? Wait a minute, Carver scowled. We're supposed to be getting paid. No, this is about honor. Glory. Pride, said Nuke. And paid. How you guys paying your bills? I mean, this can't be free. We got 3 hots and a cot. Duke shifted the toothpick. What else do you want? Paid, said Carver. I think I said that pretty clear. You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Duke reached up, grabbed him by the collar of his shirt and lifted him off the ground in one swift swoop. He marched the dangling man back toward the plane and slammed him into the surface. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? He let the toothpick drop. Carver smoothed the sleeve holding him, gently patted the forearm of the super-secret space mission soldier. Man, I understand you just fine. I was just playing. We're like that, ain't we, cowboy? He shot a look to Dawes, pleading for help. That's us. Dawes couldn't help but grin. All play. All the time. Nuke keyed in a sequence on the computer in a command console under the ship. A holographic image popped up near the entrance ramp. Dude, Dawes pointed. The image glowed in the semi-darkness. Is that life-size? 9 foot tall, massive head, thick horns with sharp points and a uniform that looked like a mix of a spacesuit and something a czar would wear for formal occasions. Their leader, Nuke reminded them. He clicked some keys. A massive ship floated against the backdrop of the moon. It dwarfed the Lucas, their only other experience with a spacecraft. Damn, Carver grunted around the scrunched-up fabric as his throat. Damn, Dawes agreed. Damn right. Duke dropped Carver and shoved him toward the hologram. Their ship. We kinda figured that one out, said Dawes. Figure on this, Duke growled as he stood next to his silver-eyed partner in crime. We're on a secret mission to approach their ship in stealth, steal aboard and stop them. Man, that's a lot of S's, said Carver. Do you get paid extra for literacy? I think you mean alliteration. Shut up, man, I know what I meant, he snapped and turned back to the super soldiers. What he said. You were able to sneak on the Lucas and disable it under the nose of the enemy. Nuke said in a half-disbelieving, half-admiring voice. How we don't know. But your skills are going to be used to help us. All right then, what we got? You're very gung-ho all of a sudden. I'm getting paid, right? We're getting paid. I've got rent due, so come on. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes. Let's get this cow stuff done and head to the bank, you know what I'm saying. Duke and Nuke watched Carver as he clapped his hands together and rubbed them over the VR display in the middle of the room. Or maybe they didn't. Dawes couldn't be sure because despite the dim interior of the room which made seeing the holographic image easier, the 2 super soldiers wore reflective aviator shades. He wanted to make a sunglasses at night joke, but the 2 serious expressions they wore made him think twice before opening his mouth. It's in orbit. What's in orbit? The alien ship. Man, we know that. Why they keep coming here, right? What we got that they want? Cows. Cows? They want a hamburger or something. They abducted cows in the 50s, and now they're coming back. We can tip them, Dawes drawled. It isn't that easy, cowboy. Duke didn't bother to look at him. These aren't your daddy's cows. My daddy didn't have no cows, Carver interjected. Tip 'em, roast 'em, spit 'em on a barbecue. That's what I know about cows. Are we going to round them up? Dawes tried to be serious. Like the man said, this isn't going to be easy work. They're just cows, right? Space cows, but horns and moo and all that BS. 9-foot-tall space cows. Bipeds. Advanced IQs. They're smarter than you. The reflective eyepieces of his glasses drilled into Carver. That's not saying much, added Dawes. Shut up, man. I'm smart. I've got a school certificate that says so. You're not cow smart, said Nuke. Think big bad cow Einstein's genetically modified to take over the world. But still cows, right? Yes, said Houston. Not giant lizard-looking dragon men? No. Cows. Then what we worried about? We just fire up the grill and invite them over and lie and shit. And sneak on their ship to stop them. Easy, said Carver. Right? Easy, Dawes agreed. But they both didn't look like it would be. Chapter 5. Look, man, this is going to get complicated. I know it, dude. Then we got to get out of here. I am with you. How? What do I look like? I come up with the ideas, man. You got to fill in some details. Participate, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Then go on. Get participating, he said on the verge of shouting. And keep your voice down. I'm not the one screaming. I know who is screaming and who isn't, Carver muttered. You remember the way we got down here? Kinda. Kinda my ass. We going to need you to remember it if we're going to get out. I think so. Think? Man, you got to know. Alright, I remember. That's better. I think. Carver shook his head. You're going to get us killed. I look at it like this, Dawes explained. The two men trailed behind the mirror lens wearing super soldiers leading them into the belly of the ship. If we go with them, we're probably going to get killed too. If we stay here, someone is going to try to kill us. Might as well try while we're getting away. Carver nodded. Yeah, man, I like that. That's better. We got a shot down here. Not shot down here. A chance down here. That's what I meant. That's not what you said. Man, I know what I said. You got to listen. Besides, I don't think I'm going to get killed down here. You got a good feeling? A gut instinct? No, I just think they'll shoot you first. 'Cause I'm black, isn't it? Yeah. Man, that's just wrong. You're right. But it's true. You think it, but that don't make it true. I'm just saying, dude, statistically speaking, you have a better shot at getting shot than them shooting at me. You ain't making no sense. It's like you're speaking a bunch of bull. Carver's voice hitched up in volume as his anger grew. If you're learning to speak bull back there, Duke called over his shoulder. Don't bother. We're programming translators. The super solider pulled up short at the plane. Get in, he turned to them. See, man, you made us miss our shot. Oh, we can still shoot you, Nuke grinned. And we don't have to pick which one to go first. There's one of you for each of us. Chapter 6. Dawes and Carver strapped into narrow jumpsuits behind two pilot chairs. The interior of the plane was tight. They were practically shoulder to shoulder with the rest of the space occupied by consoles full of buttons and gauges. Duke pulled shoulder straps onto his torso and locked down, while Nuke did the same. The launch sequence is pre-programmed, Nuke called back to them. We're airtight until we reach the ship. Hey man, don't we need spacesuits? Last time we had spacesuits. Relax, Duke grinned. You're here to advise and observe. Let the professionals handle this. Carver whispered out of the side of his mouth. Relax and observe. That's kinda like supervising, right? Hey, we getting paid to supervise. Dawes grinned. Think I could put that on my resume? Man, you ain't going job hunting no more. We got a job. You are not super soldiers, Nuke chastised. Leave that to us. It's space soldiers, Carver corrected. The general called the mission super secret, not y'all. Have you had the super serum? Steroids. It's not steroids, Duke snapped. It's the super soldier serum. That's Captain America bullshit, man. It ain't real. It's real, Nuke said. And we got it. You don't. Like I said, just sit back and enjoy the flight. His fingers moved across the keys and brought the engine to life. The roof over their head trundled back to reveal the daytime sky. Men, what time is it? Time to fly, said Duke. He thrust a simple throttle lever forward and the rocket plane lifted off with a gentle hum. It floated through the air and drifted toward the open sky. Open up once we're clear, Nuke instructed. Roger that. What's that button? Don't press it, Dawes slapped his hand away as Carver's finger drifted toward the purple button in the console. I wasn't going to press it, I was just letting you know which one I was talking about. There's only a one button on that panel. Yeah, but you might have been looking somewhere else. Dawes knocked his hand away from the button again. You're doing it again. I ain't done nothing yet, man. I'm just wondering why they put that button right there in the middle all by itself. It must do something important. Dawes looked at the back of Duke and Nuke's head as they sat in the pilot's seat. If they wanted us to do something, they would have told us. Them? They don't know nothing. You remember the last time we went up in a rocket? It was all automatic and stuff. Autopilot, Dawes nodded, remembering. Yeah, and these guys don't look like pilots, do they? How do you know that a pilot looks like? Like astronauts, man. Fishbowl heads and padded marshmallow suits. We in those? Dawes glanced down to the battle fatigues they wore instead of the spacesuit he wore last time. I guess not. Guess? You got eyes, don't you? You can see we're all in the same clothes. No spacesuit means we ain't going to be out in space. They said we were going to outer space. That's where the cow ship is. Man, cow ship is getting deep around here. I know what they said. But what they showed us, I've been thinking. What if it ain't true? Dawes let that roll around in his head a little bit, turned it over to examine it. It was tough to remember everything they had shared, exactly. In fact, a lot of it was a blur. He felt like he was on a speeding conveyor belt that rolled them down a line at lightning speed. Wrong turn. Shot in space. 9-foot lizard men fight. Back in space. Try to escape. Lost in space. Then the crash landing, the supersonic flight to the secret base and another alien threat. He felt it all whirling around inside his head and blanched. The center could not hold. You all right, man? Huh? Your eyes got a little wobbly and weird. You gonna be sick or something? Don't throw up on me. I'm not going to get sick. I'm warning you, man, if you throw up on me, I'm going to bust your ass. I ain't playing. I was just thinking about all the stuff that got us here. Carver thought about it as the engines rumbled to life underneath them. His finger drifted closer to the purple button and jabbed it. He stared at his finger with his mouth hanging open, as if it betrayed him. What did you do that for? The rumble changed pitch. What the hell did you do? Duke screamed. He spun around in his seat and fought to get the straps unbuckled, eyes blazing in fury. He looks pissed, said Dawes. Nuke spun around and had one strap off as he tried to work the control panels with one hand, slip out of the second restraint with the other. So, does he? Duke shrugged out of the straps and tried to stand, just as the floor opened up under Dawes and Carver. Their seats dropped through the floor into a cramped pod. The floor whisked shut above them with a pop. That hurt my ears. Carver shouted. The rumble of a rocket engine sounded underneath them as they were jammed back into their cushions. The pod shot from the underbody of the ship, slammed into the dirt and bounced across the deserted landscape. The door seal automatically cracked open and whisked them out. Carver spilled out first, coughing, and waved the plume of dust the pod created away from his face. Dawes crawled out next to him. They watched the flying ship race toward the stratosphere and disappear in a brilliant flash of orange flame. Damn, Carver drew out the word. Did you press a self-destruct button? What kind of idiot builds a ship with a self-destruct button out there in the open all by itself? Pieces of debris scattered in the sky as trails of smoke trace the descent path. What kind of idiot presses a button that he doesn't know what it does? Don't call me an idiot, man. I've got a curious nature. Dawes pointed to the white puffy cloud of what remained of the XJ-22 in the sky. You know that happened to the cat, don't you? Yeah, man, but we're all right. You're alive, ain't you? Dawes checked his limbs, moving his arms and legs. Everything seems to work. Good. Now what? Chapter 7. Did we kill them? What do you mean we? I'm serious, man, do you think they're dead? How should I know? Dawes stared the flaming wreckage spread across the Texas countryside. It is kinda messy. Carver licked his lips. Man, it'd be hard to survive that, don't you think? Probably. It's in a million pieces. I didn't count. You need to be serious, man. This ain't funny. You know they'll pull you up on manslaughter charges on something like this. Not if they think we're dead too. Carver stopped and his eyes grew big. They think we're dead? You think they think that? I don't know what they think. But we were supposed to be on that ship and we're not. Carver nodded his head, trying to convince himself and Dawes of the logic. You're right though. They do think we're dead. If they think that, then they can't bring us up on charges. You're very worried about that, Dawes said in concern. You had a brush or two with the law before? You know how hard it is for a black man to get a fair trial in Texas? They'll probably blame me for blowing up the ship, killing those two dudes and you too. I'm not dead. So. They don't care about the truth. All they care about is it's my fault. But you're dead. Am I? Am I really? That ship cost somebody millions of dollars. They gonna be looking for someone to blame and you sure as shit ain't going to blame a cowboy in this state. I think you're overthinking it. Carver paced around, 5 steps forward, 5 steps back, boots shifting up small puffs of dust to drift over the scrub-covered ground. Ain't no such thing. You don't know what it's like. The way they look at you, the way they always watching. Dawes stopped him. Dude, I've been a drifter for years. I know exactly how you feel. You comparing being homeless to being black? You can get a fucking house tomorrow, but I'll always be black. It's not like that. Just admit it. You don't have any idea. Alright, I'll admit it. You're right. I am? Of course, I am. That's the truest words you've said since we've been doing this. Carver nodded. Sorry I tried to compare the two. It's apples and bananas. Don't you mean oranges? Can't it be bananas? They're not like apples, and it's comparing two different things. Yeah, but the words are apples and oranges. You can't just go changing it because you feel like it. I'm just trying to think different. Well, stop. This ain't no time to be thinking different. We need to come up with a plan. Someone is going to come check the wreckage. We could wait for them. Carver spun on his heel and raised a finger. See, I told you that you was going to blame me too. Wait here and the first thing they gonna do is lock me up. They would probably lock both of us up. Yeah, but it'll be worse for me. Then what's your plan, Einstein? Get as far away from here as we can. Dawes indicated the space-age combat boots they both wore. These boots were not made for walking. Then we'll hitch a ride. Dawes glanced around the flat landscape. Southeast Texas stretched all the way down to the Gulf, broken only by scrub brush and stunted trees. On what? There's got to be a road somewhere out there. Wandering through the desert doesn't seem like a good idea. He's waiting here to get arrested. Dawes shrugged. He didn't particularly feel like getting arrested and Carver was right. They probably would blame them for the deaths of the 2 super soldiers in the plane wreck. General Houston had seemed fond of the rough man and he wasn't the type to let it go unless orders came from on high. He pointed left, then right and raised an eyebrow. Carver glanced in both directions, then picked one and they trudged through the hard-packed dirt not really sure what they were searching to find, but hell-bent on getting there anyway. Chapter 8. It turned out to be pretty easy to hitchhike. A couple of guys trekking along together in black fatigues through the back roads of Texas was just another Saturday afternoon in militia-friendly country. A good old boy with a jacked-up truck slid into the dirt on the shoulder of the road in front of them. He leaned through the slider in the back window and told them to hop in. They did. It was tough to talk over the roar of the wind and the rumble of the knobby tires on the blacktop, so they rode in silence. The truck dropped them off on the edge of a town, which was on the southern side of I-10, if the direction the driver pointed out to them was right. They were in the parking lot of a barbecue joint, a ramshackle side of the road with screened doors, screened windows and an abundance of mesquite-flavored smoke that lingered around the building like fog. You hungry? No money, said Dawes. Carver dug into the cargo pocket on the side of his pants and pulled out 2 crumpled $20 bills. Where did you get that? My mama always told me to have a little backup cash because you never know. Your mama was a smart woman. Don't you talk about my mama, Carver snapped. Then it registered that Dawes had said a compliment. Unless you're saying nice things, he amended. He led Dawes into the dim interior of the shed. A long bar lined one wall, with a shelf on the wall behind it stacked with paper plates, rolls of paper towels and large white styrofoam cups. An ancient black man stood behind the counter wiping it with a towel that in a previous life had been white, but was now a dull gray after years of polishing the bar top. Inside or out, the counterman grunted. Carver pointed to a wooden picnic table by one of the screened windows in the corner, then took the gunslinger's seat so his back was to the wall. Except it was another screen open to the outside. The construction of the shed was unique in that all four walls were garage doors that could rolled up during the day to let in the breeze and smoke, and shut at night. The screens were simply stapled to the 2x4 frame walls on the outside. "Nice atmosphere," Dawes said as he glanced around. No decoration on the inside walls, no signs on the outside. Just a giant steel smoker parked next to the building and a woodshed beside it. "This is about to be the best food you ever put in your mouth," Dawes told him. "You eat here before?" "Not here, man, but everybody knows this roadside grill meat is good." "Hey, y'all ain't serving armadillo or possum, are you?" "Boy," the old man snorted. He was missing a couple of teeth from the bottom row and one on the top. "We got us prime Texas brisket today, and pulled pork if you favor the pig." "See," Carver declared as if he had known all along. "2 briskets. Your mama teach you any manners?" "Yes, sir," Carver said quickly. 2 briskets, please." "That's better." They watched the old man shuffle along the shelf behind the counter. He picked out 2 paper plates and carried them past the table and out to the smoker. A moment later, a petite girl with cinnamon skin stepped through the screen door with 2 heaping plates of meat, baked beans and warm slaw. She set them on the table in front of Dawes and Carver. "Damn baby girl," said Carver as he looked her up and down, then glanced over his shoulder at the smoker. The old man was gone. "Y'all got a Fountain of Youth grill out there? You go out an old man and come back fine as hell." She smirked and shook her head. "Don't be messing with me. My daddy will come in here and we'll be serving dark meat for dinner. What you want to drink?" "Nah, girl, I'm just playing. We got big business to discuss up in here. Y'all got a couple of cold beers that would go good with this meat?" He watched her sashay away, eyes drinking in the way her hips swayed side to side. "She got some Latina in her somewhere," he told Dawes. "That's what happens when you mix up a black daddy with a Latina mommy. You get the best of both sides." Dawes nodded. "She had nice skin." "Skin? Man, what's wrong with you? She got nice everything." The waitress came back and placed 2 sweating bottles of beer on the wooden tabletop between them and a squeeze bottle of barbecue sauce. "Thank you." Carver flashed a smile. "What's your name?" "Rosita," she said and started to walk away. "Thank you, Rosita," Carver called after her. "See man, what did I say? Latina all up in this mess." He kept smiling as he tucked into the brisket with noisy abandon. Dawes slurped sauce across the browned outside and let it settle in the crevices while he took a long gulp of cold beer. "That hit the spot," he smacked his lips. "Look man, we messed this thing up," Carver said between bites. "Yeah, but you didn't want to go to space in the first place." "I know that. Don't you think I know that? You said it about 1,000,000 times." "Well, I think we need to make it right. I think we need to get out of here. This is our shot, man, this is our chance to be part of something big. Didn't we just stop another alien invasion? But that wasn't on purpose. We got choices to make in life, and when life gives you choices, you have to make one." Dawes crinkled up his eyebrows as he let that one filter through. "That makes no sense." "Shut up. You know what I mean." "I literally have no idea what you mean. I heard what you said, life gives you choices and you have to make one. But that is the case with just about everything in the world. It's all choices." "Yeah, but some choices matter. This is one of those times." Dawes sighed. He actually did know what Carver meant, but he was kind of hoping his partner would make the same choice he wanted to make. Go run. Go hide. Alien invasions. A week ago, he was hitchhiking across the Texas scrubland and 7 days later, he was up against his second set of invading aliens. How does that happen to a guy twice? He glanced at Dawes. It was probably all of his fault. He took the wrong turn. He hit the button on the rocket that made it go boom instead of zoom. And now it was his fault that Dawes was even considering listening. "I'll say please if it helps. If you get us killed, I'm going to murder you." "It's cows, man, you're a cowboy. This shit should be easy for you." Carver waved the waitress over and ordered a couple of bottles of beer. Now it was time to make a plan. Chapter 9. They basked in the afterglow of full bellies and a solid plan, 4 empty beer bottles on the table between them. You want one more? Carver started to lift a finger to wave Rosita over. Don't go spending all our money on food. We still have to get to Florida. Our money, Carver tossed the rumpled bills on the table. This here is my money. I don't know where yours is at. Rosita came over, scooped up the soggy plates with the tattered remnants of sauce and napkins in one hand, and the 2 20s in the other. Now it's my money, she smiled. Tips in that too, I assume. She didn't wait for an answer. It was Dawes' turn to watch her walk out back through the screen door, but Carver didn't waste an opportunity to spin his head around as far as it would go. Now what? You think we can get a ride to Florida? We got a ride here, said Dawes. He twirled one of the empties on the tabletop in small circles, spinning it between his fingers. I don't know, man, that's leaving a lot of stuff to chance. Plus, if we're out on the interstate, the general could be looking for us and find us. You in the military? The old man cackled as he stepped through the screen door. Damn, what you doing? You out there shape-shifting or something? Carver said. No sir, said Dawes. We're just passing through. From that secret base out there? You ain't supposed to know about that? You out there listening to us through the screen? Them army boys think they good at keeping secrets. Hell, ain't nothing out here but us and some jackalopes. Rosita stepped through the screen door and joined the old man at the counter. Don't you start speaking out of turn, Papa. Papa, see, Carver turned a triumphant grin to Dawes. That's Mexican for Dad, right? Grandfather, she corrected. But yeah, it works. Latina, he said under his breath like he was winning an argument. You trying to get to Florida, why? Everybody out there listening? Who else you got hiding on the other side of the screen? You talk so loud it's no wonder the general can't hear you. Bastard, ordered Papa. Walked out on a check on me once. He came back to pay. Still, Papa wiped the bar top with the grungy rag. It's the principle of the matter. He don't seem the dine and dash type. He was in a hurry. Some fools crashed one of his spaceships. That wasn't us, Carver said quickly. I didn't say it was, Papa grinned. They could see his tongue poking in the hole between 2 of his teeth. But if I crashed a super-secret experimental spaceship that was designed by a young man who turned to Barbie K in his retirement, I'd be on the run too. You? The 2 men said together. Hell no, it wasn't me. You think if I was smart enough to build a rocket ship, I'd have a rundown shack on the side of the road next to a hidden military airfield? Carver crinkled up his eyebrows. Maybe you're trying to be covert. Calvert, Dawes snickered. Think they're gonna be pissed we ate one of their buddies? That ain't funny, man. It's like we're cannibals or something. Cannibals means we eat people. You mean carnivores. I know what I mean. Don't tell me what I know. Dawes pulled his legs out from under the table. We need to get moving. I know that, Carver followed him. I saw that cowboy drop you off. You don't have a car. You boys want Rosita to give you a ride? It's a 14-hour drive. For some folks, yep. He motioned Dawes and Carver to follow him through the screen door. What if I don't feel like it? Rosita grumbled. But she waited for Dawes and Carver to follow Papa and shuffled after them, still groaning. Chapter 10. Is that what I think it is? They followed Papa to a barn behind the Barbie K shed and he rolled the doors back on a trundle track. The exterior of the barn looked like it was ready to collapse in a stiff wind. The inside didn't look much better. But sitting in the middle of the barn was a plane that looked like a glider and rocket-made little torpedo babies. A gleaming silver cockpit big enough for 4 was the shape of a bullet, with a shallow nose and rear that swept up into a tail. 2 short wings jutted out like a bumblebee's, round rocket tubes bolted to the end of each. What do you think it is? Papa asked. Dawes swept straw aside from the floor to reveal a gleaming steel surface. You got a secret base under here? Only secret round here is that, and my sauce, said Papa. He built it, Rosita was proud. Probably built the ones you crashed too. Old airmen don't die, they just fly away, the old man whispered. That thing fly? Carver eyed it dubiously. Ever throw one of those plastic men with parachutes up in the air? Rosita asked. Yeah. It's like that. This thing shoots up at an angle, the earth rotates underneath it, and we land on the east coast. You can't fly it. I'm a pilot, baby girl. I've flown things that would blow your mind. I bet. Tell her, he nudged Dawes. Tell her I know things, seen things. He knows things. The cowboy was distracted by the jet. He's seen things. See, I told you. I'm flying this, she said with an air of finality. Papa propped open the door to the cockpit. She's gonna do the pre-flight. Climb in. Carver and Dawes slipped over the lip of the door and buckled into the backseat, shoulder to shoulder. It was a tight fit. Rosita circled the plane, checking the wings, pulling the wheel blocks. Papa shuffled over to the other side of the barn door and trundled it open. A long straight dirt runway led from the back of the building and straight across the field. How long do you think it took them to build that? Carver said. Dawes was staring at some cows. They stood on a fence in a line by the runway watching the dark interior. He was sure they couldn't see inside, the angle of the sun and the shadow would make it impossible. But he couldn't shake the feeling. The cows were watching. Look at those, he pointed. Moo, Carver said. We just had your brother for dinner. One of the longhorns shook his head and snorted. I don't think he liked that. Man, cows can't speak English. And even if they could, these cows are close enough to Mexico, they would understand Spanish. Or Spanglish. They're still watching. You're being paranoid. But now that Carver was paying attention, he noticed the cows' preoccupation with them. And how still they were lined up on the fence. And that more were coming in from the fields. Rosita jumped into the cockpit. Carver let out a small yelp. Scared you? She grinned over her shoulder. No girl, I ain't scared. But he shivered and Dawes felt it. She got you good. Shut up, man. We going or what? Rosita finished up a small checklist on the dash of the cockpit and pulled a switch. The engines roared to life and she taxied out of the barn. That's weird, she said, pointing to the cows. The number had doubled. Rosita lined up the wheel with the center of the runway and bled power into the engines. They roared louder and the plane lurched forward, gaining speed as it raced down the dirt-packed lane. One of the bulls plopped back on its rear end and lifted a silver tube in its front hooves. Bull! Dawes screamed. A puff of smoke flashed from the end of the tube as Rosita shoved the throttle forward. The rocket plane lifted off the ground as the engines on the end of each wing spun to life. A projectile whistled under the belly of the cockpit and exploded in the field beside them. What was that? Rosita turned to stare. Cow! Dawes screamed. Not where we're going. She aimed the nose straight up, punched in a code and the rockets lifted them toward the stratosphere. Dawes tried to glance out of the window, but the higher they got, the smaller the herd became until they were indistinct blurs against the featureless landscape. They don't aim so good, he shouted to Carver over the roar of the rockets. Taste good though. Carver grinned as he was pressed back into the seat. Chapter 11. They landed without any more cows taking potshots at them. Rosita filed a change in flight plan on the radio to a small airport north and west of the Space Coast area, and settled the plane on the single blacktop runway. How you getting back? Carver leaned over the seat and gave her his best grin. I've got enough fuel to fly around the world twice, she told him. Papa is a genius. And he makes good barbecue too. Unless that's all you? He wiggled his eyebrows. I just serve it, she said. You know it's a damn shame a fine woman like you is just serving rag meat on the side of the road. Baby girl, you should be at NASA or something. Rosita stared at him with serious eyes. You can't trust the government. Especially anything that starts with the word super secret. Him? Them? I don't trust nobody. No generals. No soldiers. Nothing. They all a bunch of liars. He leaned a little closer and said a little softer. I'd trust you though. She reached up and ran a finger down his cheek. You would? Carver leaned in, expecting a kiss. Then get out and get moving. He stopped. Huh? That super secret government project you're working on? They track little launches like this. I figure you have about 30 minutes before really nasty men with really nasty weapons show up. I plan to be long gone by then. Time to go. Dawes shoved him out of the way and scrambled from the cockpit. Rosita gave Carver a shove and he spilled out onto the grass next to him. She slammed the door closed, locked it and fired up the engines to spin the plane around. She'll wait for us to move. Carver got up and dusted his pants off. The engines roared, flames leaping out of the end to lick at their eyebrows. No she won't. Dawes dragged Carver after him. They scrambled across the runway to the fence and watched as the plane lifted off, kicked on the afterburners and shot into the stratosphere. Baby girl ain't playing, is she? Carver said in admiration. Your eyebrows are singed. They are? He smoothed them with the tips of his fingers. We need to get moving. Dawes led him along the fence line until they reached a gate. It was padlocked and they had to climb over. You know we can't get on the base, right? Said Dawes. We got into a super secret space base in the middle of Texas, didn't we? That was a mistake. Man, people make mistakes all the time. I made a mistake picking you up. And you made a mistake blowing up the rocket. You know that wasn't my fault. You pressed the button. They should have had that marked better. Just admit you're not a pilot. Which one of us flew a spaceship before? You crashed us into a ship the first time, and almost got us shot into the sun. You blew up the second one. At least I'm trying something. Have you flown a rocket before? You don't fly rockets, you strap in and hang on. Man, you don't even know physics. It's simple physics. Did you take a physics class? Are you a rocket scientist that you hadn't told me about? Man, we'll figure it out. Ain't that what we always do? I think we should have a plan. I do have a plan. Then why didn't you say so? Dawes complained. You ain't let me get in a word since we started walking. All you do is complain and moan. I got this, man. We got this. Yeah, that's what I said. We got this. Chapter 12. Alright, man, how we going to do this? Why are you asking me? Oh, I see how it's going to be. Just because I'm black, I'm supposed to know how to break into someplace? Do you? I mean, I do, but that's because I watch a lot of YouTube videos, not because I've done it. Why would you research something like that? Just in case. Just in case you want to break into someplace? Yeah. They two men walked on the sidewalk along A1A, sparse traffic drifting past them. Rosita had flown them in Central Florida and taken off again immediately. A kind old man from someplace he called the Villages was heading to a condo on New Smyrna Beach and given them a ride to the infamous highway that stretched from Key West all the way north to Jacksonville and points beyond. Did any of those videos tell you how to break into an army base? Asked Dawes. Nah, man, you know the CIA won't let that stuff out on the internet. You see what they do to those guys that jump the fence at the White House? Yeah, and I'm imagining what they're going to do to us when they catch us. If they catch us, said Carver. He watched a garbage truck rumble past and held his nose against the stench. That's what we need. A big stink to track us by. Man, pay attention. You got to think outside the box sometimes. Nobody pays attention to the garbage man. We could just drive right past the gate. Dawes stopped him. That's a good idea. Yeah, but where are we going to get a garbage truck? We don't need a garbage truck. Carver crinkled up his eyebrows. You said it was a good idea, man. It is, but a different idea. Is the heat down here making you crazy? Carver nodded. This whole thing is crazy. We got away. We escaped and now nobody knows where we are. Really, we should be going underground and hiding. But instead we're trying to steal a rocket. That's way crazy. Carver stared up at the blue sky as if he could see the alien ship slowly approaching Earth. But if we ain't going to do it, who will? That's what I'm saying. We will. But we need a geek. A goose? A geek. We need to kidnap an egghead and get him to take us to the rocket. Just like that? Dawes snapped his fingers. It'll be a snap. You want to break onto an army base by kidnapping some man? Yep. That's stupid. It's better than a garbage truck. Nobody checks a garbage truck. Are you going to hide in the back? They're going to check the scientist. Not if we distract them. How you going to do that? Dawes started walking again. I don't know yet. But we've got 10 miles to figure it out. And find the rocket scientist. And steal a geek. Carver shook his head, but when Dawes increased his pace, he matched him step for step. Chapter 13. How you want to do this? The two men hid in the sparse underbrush next to the long road leading to the guard shack. Sneaking up hadn't been easy. At first, they'd tried a direct approach, but the two-lane blacktop leading to the fenced-off section of the base was too exposed. They going to see us coming. Kinda hard to sneak in that way, said Dawes. He followed Carver as he led him off the road and hustled from palmetto bush to palmetto bush, scrub pine to rows of sea oats growing in the sandy soil. Footing was treacherous and more than once, one of them slipped. Now they were 50 yards from the guard shack, stripped palmetto leaves stuck in their collars. Camo, Dawes explained. I ain't no camel, Carver snapped back. Not camel, camo. Camouflage. Carver studied the pointy leaf. This gonna hurt? Don't poke yourself with it. Dawes demonstrated how to stick it in the collar of their shirts so they would blend in with the background better. See? I can still see you, said Carver. This ain't going to work. No one's perfect, Dawes shrugged. They settled for hiding behind a bush, peering around the rough trunk. How do we know which one's a geek? Carver leaned against the bark. It's the car, see. He's gonna fall into two categories. If he's got a good four-door car, that means he's sensible and probably a geek. What's the other category? Rich geek. He's gonna have a nice lean shiny sports car to let the ladies know he's got money. Why can't we get one of those? 'Cause man, rich geeks only think about getting laid and science and stuff. We take him, he's gonna hassle us about getting back on base. But a regular car geek is just going to do what keeps him safe. You didn't say we were going to hurt him. We're not going to hurt him, Carver brushed a bug off his shoulder. But he don't have to know that. Dawes nodded in appreciation. Intimidation tactics. That's right, Carver grinned. We scare him into letting us on the base. How do you plan to do that? Neither recognized the new voice behind them. They whipped around and found an armed guard aiming his rifle at them. He was young, and the weapon shook in his thin hands. Carver and Dawes lifted their hands in surrender. We ain't armed. We're just talking, Dawes added. What are you doing out here? This is a restricted area. Oh, it is? Carver glared at his partner. See, I told you this was a dumb place to have a picnic. We're sorry, officer, we're just looking for some place for lunch. I'm not an officer, the guard said in a high-pitched voice. If you're having a picnic, where's the food? Snake, Dawes stuttered. Snake? That's gross. I've never eaten snake, but I heard it tastes like chicken, said the guard. Dawes pointed. Snake. The guard looked down at his feet as a long brown rat snake slithered out of the bushes and across his boot. He hopped. He shouted. He fell back with a grunt and a plop after Carver punched him across the jaw. Carver shook his hand and massaged his knuckles. Damn, man. That was quick thinking. Dawes bent over the guard and checked his face. That's going to leave a mark. Did you have to hit him so hard? You almost let him get eaten by a snake. That snake was more scared of him than he was of it. Did you see how high he jumped? I don't think it was more scared. Carver shivered. Besides, snakes give me the heebie-jeebies. Dawes shivered with him. Me too. They regained their composure as they stood over the prostrate form of the guard in the sand. Carver pointed and groaned. And there goes our geek, he said as a beige sedan cruised out of the gate doing the speed limit. Maybe we don't need one. You got a better idea? I ain't swimming in the ocean, man. They got sharks. We already seen a snake today, I don't want Jaws to bite my ass. Dawes nodded toward the guard who was stirring. How do you think he got out here? Walked. We would have heard him drive. Yeah, but walked from where? Carver nodded like he was being let in on a secret. I don't know, man. Where? Dawes shrugged. You don't know? He had to get here somehow. Man, I thought you knew something. We're right back where we started. The guard sat up and nursed his swollen jaw. Ow, he moaned. Why'd you have to hit me so hard? I saved your life from that snake, man. The guard scrambled up in a hurry and danced around looking for the slithering menace. Don't worry, man, we took care of it. Carver assured him. That snake ain't ever going to bother you again. Dawes started to interrupt him. Is it? Carver stopped him and raised his eyebrows. His head arced back and forth in an exaggerated nod. I mean, if he goes looking for it, it might. No, man, we took care of that snake and saved the man's life. We saved your life, he told the guard. The guard was watching the brush and scrub around them, eyes wide. He kept hopping from one foot to the other. Thank you? You're welcome. See, I told you, Carver grabbed the guard by the crook of his arm and turned him toward Dawes. Told me what? Told him what? The guard was still distracted by potential snakes in the grass. Told you we could trust him. We can. You can? Yeah, man, I told him you were in on it. The kind of guy we could let know about this stuff. Carver kept nodding his head, mimicking the guard's stance and body language. I am? Man, you don't have to play with us. We're going to tell you the truth. The snake got away? Dawes asked. It did? He hopped higher, glanced around in panic. No man, you don't got to worry about that snake. I told you, we took care of it. We took care of you. Now you're alive. We did you a favor. Yeah, the guard nodded. He didn't calm down, but he did stop looking around so much. Dawes stared at Carver with a look of confusion on his face. And what do you do when people do you a favor? Return it. I told you he was smart, Carver preened. No, you didn't. Shut up, man, I did say that. I didn't hear you. That's 'cause you weren't listening. I was too. No, you weren't, Carver corrected. 'Cause our new friend here, hey man, what's your name? Reg. Reg, hey. We saved your life, so now we're going to tell you why we're here. Chapter 14. Okay, Reg answered. His eyes roamed around from their faces to the ground and back up again. Okay. Tell him. Me? Dawes asked. Yeah man, tell him. Carver winked. Why'd you wink at him? Asked Reg. I didn't wink at him. I just saw you do it. Nah man, I had something in my eye. Carver blinked a couple of times to show him. It looked like a wink. I don't think so. You're mixing up blinking and winking. Happens to me all the time. Go on man, tell him. It was blinking. Not that man. The other thing. What other thing? Man, you are driving me to drink. No wonder the general doesn't like you. What general? Reg asked. He does too like me. He likes me better than he likes you. No, he don't, he's just playing. What general? They both stopped talking and stared at Reg. Our general, man. You're assigned to a general? Shit man, who you think sent us out here to heck on security? Make sure y'all doing your job. Reg straightened up. We do a great job. You do? That's what we going to tell him, ain't it? Carver said to Dawes. Write that down. I don't have a pen. What? You didn't bring a pen. Then how we going to put this in the report? Dawes shrugged. You got a pen? Reg patted his pockets and came up empty. Not with me. Man, what we gonna do then? I want to write this down 'cause when you found us, that was a good job, wasn't it man? Dawes nodded. It was pretty good. Pretty good? It was damn good, Carver told the guard. Maybe you could take us inside and we could get one. He turned to Dawes. How does that sound to you? You think this guard could help us get on the base and get a pen so you can write that report? It dawned on Dawes then and he nodded vigorously. That sounds like it might work. What you say, Reg? You want to take us to get a pen so we can let the general know what a good job you're doing out here? In there. And in there. Carver grabbed Reg around the shoulder. Which way we going to go? Reg led them to a golf cart on a path that stretched through the dunes. It was hidden from the road, a 5-foot section of black asphalt that ran toward the fence and around the perimeter. Hop in, he said and waited for Carver to climb in the passenger seat and Dawes to perch on the rear-facing bench. He punched the pedal to the electric cart and it took off quietly, only the sound of the rubber wheels on the blacktop. He drove the cart to the fence line, a look of concentration etched on his young face. He turned away from the guard shack and kept rolling to a second break in the fence. The path became a road that connected with the runway. Carver could spy the Star X rocket in the distance. That Star X thing? Reg nodded. They had to scrub the first launch and wait for weather, so it's getting ready to go anytime. I heard that, said Carver. That thing can go up at any time? Technically, said the guard. But there's a system rolling in from Tampa, so they scrubbed for today and are waiting for tomorrow. Carver glanced over his shoulder at Dawes. Told you. Told him what? Asked Reg. That it should go in the report. Y'all doing a good job around here. The general is going to like it. Reg sat up straighter in the seat and held out his chin. Were you taking us for that pen, Reg? Guard office. Hold up a minute. Can you get us in closer to look at that rocket? Reg shot him a look from the corner of his eye. I don't know. Look, Reg, the general wants a full report, don't he? He does, Dawes agreed from the back. And I want to give the general what he wants. Do you want to give the general what he wants, Reg? You ever pissed off a general before? I haven't, no. Well, I have, haven't I? He has. Pissed him off big time. And it ain't pretty, Reg. The general's kinda got a temper, you know what I'm saying. So does my captain. Yeah, but a general is higher than a captain, ain't it? Carver waited for Dawes to chime in, and when he didn't, slapped his shoulder. Ain't it? Dawes shrugged. But Reg thought he was talking to him. It is. See, what did I say? Which is worse, Reg? A pissed off general or pissed off captain? General. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to piss him off. You don't want to piss him off. Let's just make the report like the general likes it and no one is going to get pissed, okay? Yes, sir. Carver shot a grin to Dawes. He called me sir. Much respect, Reg. Yes, sir. Reg steered the cart toward the launch pad. As they approached, they could see technicians hustling around, double-checking hose connections, inspecting the payload container. That the one with the people thing on the front? The cockpit? Yeah, that's it. It is. They're supposed to carry a load of 4 tourists up to ISS. See, Carver crowed. I told you I read that. I didn't believe you could read. Man, I got this. Got what? Asked Reg. A mental picture, said Carver. Take us all the way up there. I shouldn't. Think about the general, Reg. He did. And decided the wrath of some guy he didn't see was a less immediate threat than the truck barreling across the tarmac toward them. He stopped the cart. Why you stopping? More guards. I see them, said Carver. We need to keep moving. They're going to stop us anyway. No, they ain't. You stopped us. Now they're going to catch us. Catch us? Who are you guys? Dawes leaned up and shoved Reg out of the driver's seat. The guard sprawled on the concrete as Carver budged over behind the wheel. Go! Go! Dawes screamed as he rolled over into the front seat. Hey! Reg shouted and chased after them. But the cart was slightly faster and outpaced his running. It couldn't outrun the truck though. The guards in the white pickup slowed to let Reg hop in the bed, then squealed as they peeled out after the golf cart. Floor it. I'm going as fast as it can. You're not very good at a high-speed chase. You want to drive? Yeah, move over. Man, I ain't got nowhere to move. He yanked the wheel and slid the cart in a long sideways slide that stopped at the open end of a freight elevator at the bottom of the launch pad. The 2 men spilled out onto the grate floor. Dawes scrambled up and hit the only button on the panel. An alarm shrieked. They coming. Carver warned. Why ain't we moving? I hit the button. Hit it again. He did. Nothing happened. Did they lock us out? Carver jumped up and grabbed a safety gate. He slammed it closed and the elevator lurched up. OSHA rules, man. They watched the truck roll to a stop below and spill out 3 guards, plus Reg from the back. Their former escort pointed and waved, but from this high up, they couldn't make out the words. Reg looks pissed, said Dawes. You would be too if he knocked you on your ass out of the cart. I panicked. We got there, didn't we? We're not there yet. They watched as the floors passed outside of the gate, each level dedicated to a part of reusable rocket that was going to shoot the module into orbit and return to land safely on the pad. The techs were scrambling to emergency chutes and leaving the tower in a mad dash. Where do you think they're going? They probably think we're terrorists or something. Should we tell them? Man, they ain't going to listen to us. Would you listen to a couple of guys that busted in on your rocket? I guess not. Damn straight you wouldn't. At least they ain't shooting at us. Probably afraid they'll hit the ship. Oh yeah. The elevator ground to a stop and the gate automatically opened. The top walkway was empty. Carver and Dawes ran across the metal scaffolding with pounding footsteps. You know how to open this thing? Do I look like a scientist to you? A blaring alarm sounded across the tarmac as more trucks raced across the launch pad toward them. Carver stopped at a covered workstation and lifted the lid. His fingers pounded on the keys. Do you need a password? Asked Dawes. It just started right up. Do you know what you're doing? Man, I don't know. He worked on a 2-finger hunt and peck, tongue sticking out of the side of his mouth. They're coming. What are you doing? You a computer programmer now? Look man, my brother makes games. Did he show you how to make them? Click. 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 No man, I don't know how to make no computers. But I do know how to do this. He held up one finger and pressed a key. The rockets rumbled to life under them. You know if it takes off while we're out here. Hang on, man, I got this. Carver grinned and made a melodramatic finger punch again. The door hissed open. How did you do that? I got skills, man. Dawes tried to peek around the edge of the workstation. Carver blocked his view with his body. Stop playing, man, let's get on in there. Let me see. Dawes struggled to move him to one side. Stop pushing me, man. Then stop playing. I'm just trying to see what you did. I reprogrammed it, man. We need to go, people are still coming. Dawes pointed. No, they're not. The trucks were racing away now and Tex ran across the tarmac like ants abandoning an anthill. They're getting out of here, man. That's because we need to too. Dawes slipped past him and saw the screen. It was a simple graphic with a key overlay, an image of the rocket with instructions for the startup sequence for each section. It's a drawing, he said. An idiot's guide to flying a rocket. Then it should be simple for you, Carver grumbled. He ran across the walkway and climbed into the cockpit. Dawes shook his head and followed. The fit was tight, but more luxurious than their previous trip in a rocket. This ship was designed to transport people who paid for the pleasure, so the seats were thicker, the webbing of the belts plush. Damn, said Carver as he settled into the pilot's seat. They got it nice up in here. Carver tried to close the hatch but it wouldn't budge. This isn't going to work. Man, sit down. I told you I got this. He started pressing buttons on the console. The alarms outside got louder. I don't think that's it, Dawes covered his ears. Man, I got this. Carver screamed. He tapped harder, faster. The hatch flipped closed and Dawes felt his ears pop as the seals engaged. Got it. Dawes slid across the cockpit and landed in one of the seats. He fumbled with the straps and locked himself in. Chapter 15. I ain't never stole nothing in my life. Stop looking at me like that, man. Just because I'm black you automatically think I'm a thief. Yeah, kinda. I mean most kids steal something. Piece of gum. Soda. Something. My mama would have whipped my ass if I did that. And when she was done, she would have sent me to my grandmama's. That old woman don't play. She would have made me go pick out a switch. My pawpaw did that, said Dawes. He was very particular. Yeah, if you picked the wrong one, she'd make you go back out and get another. Guess we have that in common. That and kicking alien ass. We're the only two people in the world that did that. Carver puffed his chest up. It felt good to admit it, to be good at something, and fighting aliens was a small club. 3, corrected Dawes. He watched Carver deflate a little. Oh yeah, her. She did help. She saved our bacon. Yours maybe. I had mine under control. That's not how I remember it. Well, you're remembering it wrong. Stop playing. We gonna do this or what? It's going to be worse than a switch if we get caught. Then I've got an idea. Another way? Don't get caught. Carver pressed the button and the fully automated Star-X rocket lifted off from the launch pad. No one could hear them scream over the roar of the rockets. Chapter 16. You know this is our third rocket ship today, said Dawes as they strapped in yet again. Man, no wonder the general keeps picking us to do this impossible shit. How many other people you think can do this? How many would want to? Ain't that the damn truth, Carver said with a thoughtful look on his face. What's that beeping? Maybe that blinking light. You think I should press it? Dawes put his hands behind his head and leaned back into the cushion of his seat. You're driving. Flying. Dude, whatever. You're in charge. I heard you, man. Write that shit down, because I don't want you to forget it. Carver jammed the button with the tip of his finger. A holographic image appeared floating above the console. It was as clear as if the aliens were in the ship with them and Dawes flinched. Damn, I don't know if I'm going to get used to that. Man, can you imagine what they could do with this on the Xbox? We need to get this to them and then get some stock, you know. Get paid. Moo, said the image. Yeah, moo you too. We can't understand your bullshit. It would be his you shit. Man, shut up. Moo. You stand in the presence of His Royal Highness, the Admirable Tornado. Carver peeked at Dawes. Royal? He a king cow? Cows are girls. Bulls are boys. King bull? Cow sounds better. Tell him. Moo, Carver said to the holograph. Watch the way you speak to the Admirable, a woman next to him said. What did I say? Who's that? Your questions will be answered, human. Why's she talking like that? Moo, said the bull. The metals on his chest jingled. I am Helen, daughter of Farmer Ted, servant to the herd. Herd? Asked Dawes. Moo. That's going to get on my nerves, said Dawes. You ain't kidding. What y'all want? Surrender, humans. Surrender what? Earth? We can't speak for Earth. Can we? Carver shook his head. We can speak for us, but I don't think we can for anyone else. Prepare to be dominated. Hey baby girl, you coming on to me? I don't think she was talking to you. Well, she wasn't talking to you. She could have been. But she wasn't. Besides, you'd have to pay extra for that. For what? Being dominated. You think you're funny, said Dawes. This is a serious situation. Who you telling? You don't have to tell me. I know the situation. I know the situation better than you. I'm driving, ain't I? Flying. That's what I said. I'm the pilot, that means I'm in charge. Human in charge, said Helen. The herd demands you surrender Earth to the rightful heirs. What's she talking about? Who's that? Dude, I'm standing here with you. Human side, remember? I know that. It's not like I expected you to really know who she was, I was just asking, you know. No, I don't know. What's she doing? Are you even listening to me? Dawes grumbled. It's like talking to a wall. You hurt me, Dawes, you cut me real deep. There's a tissue in my pocket. You can have it. Carver waved him off and pointed to the view screen. Turn it up. Do I look like I've got the remote? You're the pilot. Then you're in charge of sound. What was Uhura? Who? Carver froze with his hands over the console. Man, don't even say you don't know who Uhura was. I'll unbuckle from this seat and kick your ass up and down the aisle and out the airlock. Dawes nodded with wide eyes. Oh, Ara, from Star Wars, right? I know who that is. Carver lunged from his seat, but the restraints held him back. He struggled for a moment to unbuckle, but Dawes got the jump on him and escaped first. They floated freefall, swimming in the air, the young black man chasing the cowboy around the cockpit as he attempted to escape. When I catch you, I'm kicking your ass. Star Wars? Star Trek. Same thing, right? Dawes swam harder but got no further ahead. I will. Carver pushed off the wall and zoomed across the narrow space. Dawes shoved off the other way. They had a small slap fight as they passed each other. Carver landed a solid glance off the other man's shoulder and sent him careening into the pilot console. His boot glanced off the controls and sent the ship spinning slowly around them. Can you hear me, humans? A woman's voice sounded like a robot through the speakers. They froze mid-flight, still drifting as the ship spun around them, and stared at the screen. She sound like a robot to you? Could be the speaker. They swam to get closer to the view screen. We can hear you. Carver shouted. Don't you have to hit transmit or something? Man, shut up and let me handle it. I'm handling it all right. Carver stuck a fist under his chin and gave his best goo-goo eyes at the screen, blinking twice, oozing charm. Hey baby girl, we can hear you. She's with the space cows, dude. Shut up, man, Carver hissed out of the side of his mouth. Humans, the voice continued. I will repeat. Surrender now, or die. Does she mean us or the whole Earth? I don't know what she means. Ask her. Don't tell me what to do, Carver turned back to the screen, amped up the charm again, this time with his best smooth berry white voice. Hey girl, you mean us, right? This ship. Surrender Earth to the rightful heirs or die. That sounds serious. Death is always serious, man, why you think they playing? Tell her we don't speak for the whole Earth. Man, you ain't got no game, do you? First, you got to impress her with being a space pilot and whatnot. She's in space. She ain't a pilot though, Carver cooed. Now listen baby girl, why don't you tell me all about it? I can. Surrender, human. You sure this isn't a recording? Asked Dawes. Carver blinked as it dawned on him. Maybe it is? Hey girl, how do I know you ain't a recording? You just keep saying the same thing over and over again. Tell me about you. What's your sign? The girl on the screen blinked twice and stared at them as if her gaze could pierce the veil of space. She slowly turned to a figure off screen, opened her mouth. Moo. Did she just moo at you? They cow people, man, what do you expect? The figure on the view screen distorted as the camera pulled wider in a shaky jumping manner. The tiny figure of the woman stood next to a giant bull standing on two legs. His arms and chest were massive, with a nod toward being a minotaur. He wore a space suit that looked like a combat uniform. "The Admiral," breathed Carver. "Admirable," Dawes corrected. "Moo," the woman said again. The Admirable turned his massive head to glare at the view screen. "Moo," he roared. "The Admirable demands your immediate surrender," she said. "Stop your ship's rotation and prepare to be drawn aboard." Carver stared at the ship rotating around them. "Hey man, the walls are moving." "She said we were rotating." "What did you do?" "I didn't do anything," Dawes defended. "You're the one piloting this thing." Carver floated over to the console and pressed some buttons. Nothing happened. "You broke the Star X ship." "I didn't do anything." "You're not going to pin this one on me." Carver made a grab for him, but Dawes used the tips of his fingers on a piece of metal in the ceiling to push himself out of reach. "Humans." The woman sounded a little more panicked now. "Control your ship." "Just stop it," Dawes yelled. "I'm getting a bad feeling about this." "Shut up, man, and let me concentrate." Carver stuck his tongue between his lips as he concentrated on lining up the X on the screen with what looked like an airlock on the side of the ship. "You think that's why they call it Star X?" Dawes indicated the crosshairs. "You're messing up my aim," Carver huffed under his breath. "You're doing that all on your own." "I'm just asking a question." Carver gave him some serious side-eye. "Your questions are trying to distract me so I mess up again. Then you can keep on talking about it, like it's something I meant to do." His elbow brushed the stick and activated the retro rockets. It sent them slightly off course as the X drifted further off the airlock target. "I'm not trying to distract you," Dawes countered. "I'm just making an observation. It don't matter if you're trying to do it, you're doing it, and that's the point." "You better pay attention," Dawes pointed. "Don't tell me to pay attention. You're not the boss here." Dawes pointed again, but this time he didn't say anything. "That's how you do it," Carver said with a satisfied smug and turned back to the reticule. "Shit," he gasped and yanked the joystick to one side. The X overshot the airlock as they zoomed closer to the alien vessel. He struggled to bring it back in line. His jerky movements kept sending the nose of the ship first one way, then the next. The X was off-center, as they crashed into the side of the ship, half on the airlock. Carver was yanked to a halt by the straps on the seat, but Dawes was sent flying into the console. His fingers scrambled for purchase before he slammed into the bulkhead, and caught on the tip of a button, pressing it. The airlock clamps engaged, digging into the side of the ship, but making an incomplete seal. The automatic cycling sequence beeped and the airlock chamber opened up. Instead of venting into an equally pressurized airlock though, the escaping gas shot out through a narrow slit in the broken seals against the alien ship. The air knocked the Star X ship into the side of the alien vessel, the half-engaged clamps keeping one edge hinged like a lever. Dawes bounced off the side of the wall as the long module bounced against the side of the ship once, twice and broke free to spin off along the hull, dragging and scraping metal against alien technology. Pieces of debris floated off as their rocket dragged against the hull and drifted off into orbit on the outer edges of the stratosphere. Carver coughed. "Man, you almost got us killed. These straps are going to leave bruises." Dawes looked like he'd been through 4 rounds with a rampaging rhino and lost. He gripped the edge of the console and hauled himself up. His legs kept drifting up past his head, and he almost passed out from the blood rush. "You don't look so good." "I don't feel so good." A beeping alarm sounded on the panel in front of them. "You know what that means?" "Can't be anything good." "Maybe you should buckle up this time." Dawes shot him a look. "Maybe you shouldn't crash the ship again." "Man, you were distracting me. That wasn't my fault." Dawes dragged himself into the second seat and fumbled with the straps. "That's it," he grumbled. "You're done driving." "It's flying, not driving." "Flying. Driving. Whatever you want to call it, you're done. If all you're going to do is bitch about it, then maybe you should do it your damn self." "I will." "There you go." Carver crossed his arms across his chest and tucked out his bottom lip in a pout. "Do it then." Dawes studied the layout of the buttons under the joystick, his eyes darting from the view screen to the console and back again. He saw something on the screen and blanched. "Carver?" "No man, you said you were the pilot now. Pilot this damn thing." "Carver." Go on pilot. Fly. Be free. Carver. Carver glanced over and saw Dawes pointing at the view screen. His eyes locked on the image of the alien ship bearing down on them, twisting end over end as its orbit decayed. Shit! He screamed. Drive. Carver lunged for the joystick and pressed buttons. All of them. Nothing happened. Do something. What do you think I just did? Dawes cringed as the cow ship bore down on them. Do something else. Carver closed his eyes and pressed a button. The airlock eclipsed open to the size of a baseball and a klaxon warning alarm shrieked through the cockpit. Air shot out through the opening as the cockpit vented. It sent them tumbling out of the way of the main body of the hull. The edge glanced against the smaller ship and sent it tumbling faster. Can't. Breath. Dawes gasped. Can't. Either. Carver answered. His finger jabbed the button again and again until the tiny opening in the airlock whisked closed. The klaxon alarm stopped, but another took its place. What's that mean? Dawes struggled to ask. Carver studied the layout of the board. Man, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You're the pilot. You keep changing your mind about that. Are you getting hot? Carver glanced at a gauge on the console. Yeah, we're crashing. Again, he rolled his eyes. How many times is that? 3? Look man, I'm getting sick of all this negative criticism. You want it done your way, you do it. My way? I'd just like to land the normal way for once. I would have done that, but you wouldn't leave me alone. You bounced off an alien ship and knocked it down to Earth. They could see bits and pieces of the alien cow ship breaking up in the atmosphere. Even as they watched, hundreds of tiny escape pods jettisoned from the main ship, spreading out over the continent of North America and the Midwestern states. Then the view screen flared orange and burned out. Gravity grabbed Dawes and slammed him into the floor of the ship. He crawled across to his seat and strapped in. Carver pulled his buckles tight. The roar of the atmosphere outside of the cockpit made speech impossible, but if Carver could speak with his eyes, he'd be screaming. And hold on. Oh shit. They lunged into their straps as emergency rockets kicked in and slowed them down from 1,000 miles per hour to only 300. Then bounced again when 3 chutes deployed and arrested their descent speed to only 80 miles per hour. Just as they caught their breath, a third blast deployed, halting them in midair 20 feet above the ground. The wind caught the chutes as they settled into the ground no harder than jumping off a 2-story building. The chutes dragged and scraped them across the earth until they came up against a hill and snagged. Inside the cockpit, Carver moaned. You alive? I think so, Dawes groaned. You better move your ass. Carver unstrapped and limped for the small opening. He put his shoulder against it, but it wouldn't budge. We can't get out, he hissed. It's inescapable? Stop. Dawes put his shoulder next to Carver and they shoved together. The hatch didn't move, but with a grunt, a groan, a moan and no confession to piss, it screeched open large enough for them to squeeze through. Me first, Carver pushed Dawes aside and slithered through the opening. Dawes dropped and crawled out beside him. The dirt around their crash site was chewed up and muddy from fluids they couldn't recognize or name. The ship itself rested at the bottom of a small rise, where the parachutes fluttered in the breeze above them. The men limped to the top of the hill and stopped. They were surrounded by cows. Thousands of space cows disgorged from escape pods resting in the surrounding pastures. Hey man, Carver whispered. Yeah? You seeing this? Yeah. They walking on 2 legs, or did I hit my head harder than I think? I hit mine too, cause they're walking. The alien cows were built like the bull in space, bipedal and large. They were clothed in variants of space suits and carried blasters as they approached. We should probably go this way, Dawes tugged on Carver's sleeve. They turned to scramble down the rise and paused again. The cows had them surrounded and the circle was closing tight. Tight and fast. Moo? Dawes tried. The cows mooed back, all as one in a giant voice that shook their bones. Man, I don't think they like that. Did you cuss at them or something? I don't know, said Dawes. Maybe we should ask her. The admirer bull marched through the herd, the small human woman by his side. He tilted his head toward her. Moo. Her tiny voice carried across the tight circle. Humans, gaze in fear at the might of the herd. All the cows mooed again, this time longer and louder. Dude, Dawes said as the sound died out. Man, Carver answered. Chapter. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide and no escape. An Apache helicopter makes a distinct sound when flying through the air. The whir of the blades echoes, splitting the air like something alive. A giant insectoid sound made even more distinct by the addition of rockets on the rotors. The black helicopter whisked across the horizon and bore down on the herd of bulls, cows and lone female human as they slowly surrounded Dawes and Carver. Two figures dangled on lines hanging from the copter. The bipedal cows stared up at the approaching menace, the bulls snorted and pawed the ground. The human woman watched, her large brown eyes wide with interest. "Shit," said Dawes. "Man, you can say that again." Duke dangled from one line. Nuke the other. They were employing a variation of a skyhook. Normally, soldiers would send a balloon in the air and a passing plane or helicopter would hook it. The balloon was attached to a rope, which was harnessed to the soldiers. They would be yanked off the ground and fly off to safety. This was not quite like that. Instead of hooks, Duke and Nuke were attached to the end of the ropes. The helicopter flew in fast and did a grinding, twirling halt on top of Dawes and Carver. The two super-secret soldiers swung in like pendulums, and slammed against the astronauts on the ground. They wrapped their legs around their quarry and lifted them up and over the herd. The helicopter hit the retros and zoomed over the horizon, leaving only the shrieks of the terrified men flying through the air, the questioning moos of invading alien cows in Iowa. The end.